Hello, everybody. Soul Speaks 5D. We are in the studios of Vibrational Empowerment Network. Please go to vibrationalempowerment.net. Subscribe, enroll, support the brothers and the sisters that are over there putting out the good work. More about that a little bit more every day. And I just want to say also, excuse me, I'm at the end of my energetic rope. But I wanted to say, and I haven't said it today, but thank you for your continued love and support and contributions. It allows us to keep doing this by the seat of our pants every single day. That's not a complaint because that seems to be how the 5D works. You only get what you need for the day. So we're anchoring this and embodying this, and that's part of it. No complaints. Last thing is, we're getting heavily suppressed, which is, we haven't been as suppressed in a long time. So if you could just share it one time to your page or to a group, that'd be cool. And thank you. Now, I'm on my last leg over here. This is the 5th show and final show. So anyone that was thinking about coming by, please don't. I'm done. Stick a fork in my ass and it's over. So I walk outside, and I already knew Anaya. Anaya and I connected. We connected on Patreon. And then I met this incredible beloved sister, Alyra. Thank you for saving my ass. Then I met Alyra at the conference I spoke at yesterday, and where I saw Anaya too. And just because I saw so many people, I just knew I'd seen her energy, and I knew I made the connection. So I walked out of the last show, and I was looking for the next guest, and I knew Anaya was here. And so these two fairy-like galactic beings, they're. I'm trying not. If I get tired, I start cussing a lot. But they're a lot of fun. They're crazy cool, and I think we need more of this because, you know what? I'm very tired. I can't apologize for my remarks, but. There's many in this community that need to lighten the fuck up. I mean, we are doing the good work. Give yourself some credit. Put your feet on the chair. Have a cigar, whatever creams your and just relax a little bit. And excuse my French, and I'm sorry, don't get offended, but it has been a pretty good run. So anyway, I can't think of a better way to end this than to spend half an hour talking to these two crazy people. So I don't know where we're going to start with this. We've been already covering a bunch of material that we probably can't even talk about.
Oh, and you haven't even heard anything yet.
Okay, so we'll let you start. Wait, so you're from Ashland, Oregon.
Ashland, Oregon.
And you're a practitioner.
I
right?
am.
And you're from San Diego.
I'm from San Diego.
Are you a practitioner too?
I'm an intuitive and a facilitator. I have the Missing Handbook for Being Human is an intuitive class I teach. It's a mystery school.
The Missing Handbook for Being Human. I like that. That's pretty good. And now, what about you? Where do people find you? What are your specialties, or what do you like to do?
Well, my specialty has been hiding.
Is it really?
I went into like a year and a half of, I just needed to take the downloads and see where I was going with it.
Come this way.
Okay. Oh.
No. I think that's part of the natural progression of what we call awakening.
I've been helping a lot of friends and family in this awakening process. I can be light and I can be fun because I've done the work in the other parts of life that weren't so much like that.
Yeah,
and know that you come through to a place of you don't have to stay in that suffering. No. There's always going to be pain. We live in physical bodies at this point. They can hurt, but you don't have to suffer with it. And that's something that I think is a...
Does laughter play a role in that?
Oh my God.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. And, childlike.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Peter Pan, so you don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
And have y'all been hooked up for a while?
Yeah, like a long.
We hooked up with
10 years?
a spiritual
teacher.
program. Yeah, teacher. Kind of cultish.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Oh, that's a story. I mean, I'm sorry to say that. Because,
was it that dude? What's that dude's name? What's the Osho?
Oh, no.
It was a smaller group. But what it did, it
Were you part of the cult?
I was.
Were you?
We were, but
Well,
we didn't
we bought the
realize
Kool-Aid, that's all.
we
Huh?
didn't
No,
realize
it's
until the
interesting.
very end on the way out that it was that.
So
Yeah.
what?
And it all exploded at the end.
What? Well, of course.
Of course, like, thank God.
The universal energy is not going to support
Right.
bullshit.
But
like
there
that.
was deep
Yes,
work
we
and
did
good
good.
and amazing
Yeah,
people
of course.
in it.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing. Yeah.
Well, I think that's another thing that's it's helpful to remember. I get notes from people, and they'll be like, "You're going to explode. Soulogy is going to be like huge. Just maintain your humility." And you know, and I'm not making fun of that, because I've actually been told that since I reawoke 9 years ago, when they would tell me about Soulogy. They would say, "It's not about you. It's not about you," you know. But I do pay attention. I do pay attention to every single thing that comes in. But what I was going to say is, I think that's an important thing for us to remember, because we do build these energetic forces, which would be at a group or an individual's own expansion. And you know, on one hand, we can't really rest on our laurels, and on the other hand, we got to keep growing. So it's good to be reminded of these things.
What was pivotal for me in that whole experience was this soul showed up because we all dialed him in, you know, like we chose this experience of this teacher. And what it taught me is it showed me the places where I handed over my power, where my sovereignty, and where I was willing, because it, you know, replicated a family dynamic where there was love and nourishing and then judgment and things like this. So what was beautiful about it is this soul, I still feel so much love for this soul. Never want to see him again. But I am so grateful, and I understand why that is, and I feel more sovereign than I ever have been in my life. And that was that there's nothing outside of us that is meant to grab our steering wheel or like dictate our reality for us. We have to keep coming back home and do the clearing, so that you can get clear answers, clear messages. And the same, and that's the dilemma as an intuitive. I'm making a shift to making a shift to the space where where I'm not there as a Pez dispenser of just like
I like the fact that you took responsibility. Not only did you take responsibility for the occurrence, but you also see it for what it is, which is what I've been saying for a long time, but getting more heated about more recently, which I'm going to take this to you now, is that we've got enough information now. We know who we are, we know what we are, we know why we're here. At least we know enough about it. We know we're eternal souls. We don't have to be scared. They can't kill us. You know, like if they physically kill us, we just come back and kick their ass, or whatever the case is. We've all been through this. There's enough information that I think it's time that we shift or get out the pot. What do you think?
I totally agree. I used to live in a community, communal living, with the emissaries of divine light, back in the day.
Man, you're from way back.
Way back. I'm a way backer. 67. I think.
Wow, you look great.
And I started in probably 70s somewhere.
Really?
70s. I mean, I further, but the point is that we live communally, and we found how to live brother and sister, and friendly. Now, unfortunately, it was a patriarchal, which often has happened in communities. Somebody's at the top, and it wasn't really.
There was a hierarchy.
Yeah,
that was the first.
Male.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So,
well, yeah, it was built on duality.
Right, but the people I met there.
Yeah.
Same with the other.
But yeah, isn't that like a perfect microcosm?
It is.
Of society? So you have this hierarchical Wizard of Oz behind the curtain thing going on. Mm-hmm. You got all these beautiful, incredible souls in the 99.9%, and yet we're all sitting here, with our finger in the dike or head up our ass, waiting on what? Exactly. I'm tired of waiting. I'm really tired of waiting, and but yeah, what an excellent microcosm that you went through. And so what happened with that one? Did it explode? Did it implode?
There was, it was the pressure of...
like the other one. It imploded like the one y'all talked about.
It was a different kind of implosion.
Yeah.
That implosion was more on how you treat women.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
You want to hear that? Yeah.
Let's talk about this. No, and it's so difficult because when we talk about divine feminine and divine masculine, you think men and women and, same or opposite sex relationship. It's not like that. We're talking about a frequency. And we're talking about a frequency that obviously is internal, that we're now having the opportunity to externalize, like Morgan and I, let's just say. But we have friends that are same-sex couple, same thing.
Right.
You have non-romantic relationships, bonds between two people, same thing. But if you look at the physical representation of the energetic field, you have a patriarchal system that's being challenged and deconstructed,
Yes.
which means you now have the rise of this feminine energy, which affects us all.
Right.
And I think that there has to be a certain physical 3D actions taken to embody this stuff. And it's not me opening the door for you or, whatever, Southern manners I picked up. It has more to do with respect, reverence, honor, love. And actually, I think we're at the point now, let me get your thoughts on this, where that feminine energy is taking the lead.
Yeah, well, even at the conference, there weren't speakers that were female.
Anaya
Oh
pointed
my
this
God.
out this morning, and I went, "Oh my God!"
And that's why,
Okay.
and that's on me. I've been in hiding, so
That's a great point.
sisters,
That's a
step
great
up.
point.
It's
Okay, so
It's time.
the guy that gave the conference who's deep in my heart,
so
Tolik.
lovely.
He's a wonderful man,
So
Tolik,
lovely.
and that's a great observation, and we're talking about this in respect.
yes.
So, 2 years ago, I came here for the first time, and he was doing a conference. A lot of the same people, same energy, and I noticed it right away. Right?
Oh, you did?
Yes, I noticed it right away. I thought, wow, this is Sedona, and it's very patriarchal. But then I realized this was kind of the old guard, which doesn't mean it's not a bad thing
No,
because everything has to
new.
change. But if you noticed, when I went in yesterday and did my little speech, that I went the other direction. You know what I mean? Like I wanted the opportunity to inject that type of energy into that field. And a lot of people came up to me and were very thankful for it.
You killed it. Like at the end, I was so impressed. I had not met you in person before, and so it was you when you got up at the end, and you said you were sort of like you said the most outrageous thing. You said, "I know some people aren't going to like me for this, but I don't believe in this, whatever. It's like EMFs, like GMOs, all these things,
fluoride.
all these things." And basically, the message was, if you're operating from the higher dimensions, you don't. That's where the power is, and how you can change things. You're not moving things down there on this little chessboard that was governed by those patriarchal, corrupt systems that are need to be a thing of the past.
Which are what got us here, and we have to love and honor and revere those things as well.
So that would be my question relative to the conference. When she made the statement this morning about noticing there were no female speakers, yet there was a plethora of people. I had never seen a conference where more of these speakers, that almost everyone without exception, there was one person that might be the exception, that everyone there were men with their hearts wide open, emotionally available, feelable men who really cared. Their caring was palpable. Yeah. And they wanted to make a difference. And when they spoke about it needing to come back to a matriarchal system, came in, but yet so is that, my question, that would be, is that the stair step, that the men start to inhabit their yin receptive self, and then that's the stair step that does open the door for the sisters, or do the sisters need to
I think it's both.
get up?
Yeah. And
think it's both.
particularly, I would love to have been with indigenous women. The wisdom keepers of the indigenous tribes, and maybe there's a reason they keep them sacred or away from this kind of speaking. But my heart just is there.
Well, it's strange because I think that really what you saw in that conference and the one I saw 2 years ago was actually a precursor. That energy was a precursor to the lightworker groups and community that's kind of exploded 2012 and since 2012. And what I mean by that is they were carrying the vibration of a galactic connection, of natural living and so on, but that circuit was primarily masculine speakers. And so then you go into, now, I wasn't there, but I will bet you that a great deal of the influence behind it was feminine. Now, if I remember, I didn't get to be there for too long. I was there for probably for a collective 7 or 8 hours. But I remember the Apache that came on 2 speakers before me, Gordon. So he talked about several times how the women were stronger. And he talked about, and there's a lot of Native American speakers that I've listened to and publications I've read where the grandmothers make the final decision. You know, it doesn't matter who the war chief is, it doesn't matter who the medicine chief is, the grandmothers make the final decision. So I'm going to connect this back. So I think it's both. I think that, you know, look, I'm in what I would consider a frontline energetic relationship. I'm in a relationship where I know as the individual couple goes, so goes the collective, or as the individual goes, so goes the collective. I'm married to a cosmic galactic weather vane who gets information in far before everybody else. So here I am walking next to her, and I can tell you, for instance, as an example, now these are literal occurrences, but they have an energetic, it's more energetic than it's not. And that is like in the last 2 to 3 weeks. I've watched my feminine body come out of my body, her masculine body come out of hers, and watched the higher selves make love. But I'm the feminine, and I'm feeling everything. You know, that's an energetic signpost. That's saying, hey, this information or this frequency is being embedded, anchored into the earth. In my relationship with her, I can tell you over the last 5 years, in many ways, I've surrendered, but it's been much more prevalent, much more pronounced, much more deeply felt, where I've reached points of, I have actually, like this about 2 weeks ago, I fully understand, feel in every cell of my body, everything the energy of she went through. Every rape, every oppression, every witch being burned, I felt it all. And then I went, okay, in this interlude, you know, I went, look, I'm absolutely, totally vulnerable to you. Not only am I totally vulnerable to you, I want you to do whatever you need to do to bring yourself into alignment. If you're still angry, hit me. Whatever you think you need to do. Now I'm paraphrasing this, and this wasn't spoken, but this is what I was feeling. So if I'm feeling that energy's got to be at least at a minimum available, and there's other men picking up on it. And based on what you're talking about, you saw the hearts open with these speakers.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was very moved by what you just shared, because it's such a powerful thing, and it's not only what we need here, but like what many of us desire deep in our souls. Because Todd, I think because you're doing this and you're putting your money where your mouth is, you're showing up in it. It makes total sense to me that you would find that partner and that you would have that experience, because you're out on the edge, risking, like putting your voice out there in support of these things, and that you're shouting it to the heavens, and it makes total sense that you would be a being that would bring that in.
And you pull that in for more than you and Morgan.
No, I know.
I know. I mean, it's just so for all men and all women who.
It's true, and it's happening, and it's interesting because I talk to a lot of men who are in, who are in unions, and I'm thinking of one now. It's a same-sex couple. The dynamics are the same. There's something about running everything through the feminine, like in the case of the indigenous that we talked about. The grandmother's council makes the final decision about everything, right? there's something about running anything and everything through the feminine, through her strength and her softness and her wisdom, and then lay it out there. You know, and I can tell you, it happens with Morgan and I. It's happened, and again, we're just a singular expression of the collective. That's right. So it could be anything from, you know, I remember the second time she came over in 2018, and we had not really, you know, I mean, we slept together, but my shorts were on. You know, where there was a certain thing we knew we had to do.
Is that a new technique?
Well,
I haven't heard that one.
I could actually say something that would be really funny, but I can't.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But
Later.
you're good. Yeah, we need to go have a beer. I definitely want to have a beer with you. There's no doubt. But it was something is like there's some kind of knowing that he's got. Like his when I say his, again, I'm talking energy. The methods of accomplishment, the methods of construction and building, and you know, just expression, really, because that's what it is. From the patriarchal is rooted in duality, and you can't. It will not sustain itself, even if it's partially rooted in duality.
Well, if it doesn't include.
Oh, wait a minute. She just said yes, she said it's a powerful technique. What I was going to say,
She just popped out.
right? What I was going to say in that instance, though, so she came over. She was there like 3 or 4 days. We had some major stuff happen. We had Galactic Family came in. We were morphing in front of each other, seeing our incarnations, physically morphing in front of each other. And so I'll never forget, I was downstairs at the end of a day of broadcasting. She came down. And Morgan does incredible light language, and she doesn't do it in public, but she came down and started doing it. I hadn't seen it too much to that point. She didn't do it the first trip, and she starts doing it, and I'm understanding everything she's telling me.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, she's never seen me, you know, unclothed.
Yeah.
And so the next thing I know, I'm standing outside this building on the side of the house where we're staying, buck naked, under the stars, you know, following the order. But what I'm getting, I know it's funny.
No, it's cool.
Be
But-
careful, that feminine power will have you do all manner of
That's what I'm talking about. I told her this the other day. Like anything she says or any advice I give to a man who's in this type of relationship is like, whatever she says, do it. Like, have you ever not trusted her? And so there's something innate in the masculine part of us, be you a man or a woman, that knows that she is creation. Right?
She's the unmanifest.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the unmanifest, and so that's where all creation comes. That's all the
Exactly.
potentiality, and then
Exactly.
then the masculine brings it into form, right?
Exactly. So you have to surrender. You surrender and you go into this void, the holy darkness, the mother's womb. The only way you can go in there is fully, absolutely trusting, and that's it. And you don't have a leg to stand on. You don't have anything to base it on other than this innate relationship. And so to me, that's where creation's born, you know. And you can you know, say, is it the chicken or the egg? Was it the creator that made creation or creation that made the creator? But to me, God is a woman. I don't know how else to put it. And maybe that only applies to this realm because it's been a patriarchal imprint. Because I'm sure there's been other realms we've designed in our infinite wisdom that were matriarchal.
Well, it's interesting that we ended up being two of us here. So it's 2/3 water, 1/3 earth. You know, and,
Fire.
and fire.
Fire.
We got a dragon.
I see. I'm delirious. I'm just gonna.
Sir Laugh-A-Lot.
Sir Laugh-A-Lot.
You know, I don't usually connect too much with dragon energy. But this morning when I was knowing I was coming over here, it's like my dragon came up.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're going to be talking with Todd today, huh?
Oh, your dragon told you?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
there
like,
you go.
It was really great. Yeah. So
Dragons are the dragon
really
energy
cool.
is incredible.
Yeah,
It is. It's really incredible.
definitely.
But yeah, this whole thing with like we have all the information. We know that there's that the last line or maybe one of the last lines of separation is masculine and feminine. You know, because androgyny is the 0 point. Let's just say that. And but you know, I think like what you were saying earlier, at some point, the self-reliance of the soul, the responsibility of being a co-creator, we're merging physical and non-physical. There's a lot to be said for physical 3D actions being taken.
Absolutely.
Even if you're uncomfortable. There's many times with Morgan, not many times, but there's be times with Morgan will say, we need to do this, or, you know, I'll say, I'm going to do this. And she'll say, I don't think you should do that. And it's not from a judgmental standpoint, it's just from a feeling.
Right.
Like their intuition, I listen to. If she tells me, I don't know why, but you just don't need to do that, I'm like, okay. And my human will get pissed off and go, you know, kick the wall or whatever. But I think that's what's happening. And I think the way that we can contribute to that is for that masculine side of us to just keep diving deep and surrendering more and allowing her, again, the feminine energy in all of us, allowing her to take the lead.
And for me, not judging a male in process.
Yeah.
That's a really important part, because
Yeah.
we have having our hearts open to understanding the process that it took me to incorporate my male female aspects, and not assuming that it's supposed to be a certain way.
Yeah.
That's really important. I learn that every day
Yeah.
about judgment and.
Yeah,
¿Qué pasa?
it's funny, yeah,
¿Qué
I was just
pasa?
thinking that last night I had a conversation at dinner with one of the attendees. A few of us were at dinner, and it was a male who was very heart-based, really just lovely, and began to like sort of hold this space where his heart was so open that that it was so moving to me, like I felt seen and felt, and it wasn't about necessarily the content that I was sharing. It wasn't somebody saying, oh yes, I feel that happened. It wasn't that kind of conversation. It was more this male showing up in his heart, just basically a stranger to me. That was so moving. He began crying. I started crying, and I was like, this is the greatest gift. Like if I walked, there was something about. He was showing with such sincere intention of how to support, how to be of. There was a reverence for the feminine in it. Even the content is lost on me as far as all the particulars, but it was this feeling like I was so moved, and I'm like, what is happening here? And I even said to him, I said, if I never speak to you again, this is like the greatest gift I could ever have. And then I thought, if men, like, and even when you're sharing this about your beloved, it's so moving because it's so where we need to go.
Yeah.
And that she knows your techniques. No.
It's not techniques.
your short.
Oh. Yeah. No, you're right.
I think
You're right.
It,
And you know, so there's also the complications of, not complications in a bad way. We have to respect everybody's individuality. So you have not just sisterhood and brotherhood, you have transgenderhood. You have sexual preferences that were painted as we've all been painted, crazy and out there, and you know, something wrong with you. So, but I think what I'm trying to say is we're not going to be able to get to these things that have been obscured or you know, out of the not only say traditional, but what we were trained to believe until we start to have these types of conversations and you have this awareness. Because look, I always look at it this way with Morgan and I. There's not two parties here. There's four. There's the human man in his journey. There's the human woman in her journey. Then there's the divine feminine, divine masculine. And on one hand, obviously she was handicapped by being less of a physical presence. But her advantage was she had the intuition, where he was falsely empowered with this physical prowess, and he was at a disadvantage because he didn't have that link. So for her, she's already been pushed down. She's coming up. For him, he has to be brought down and then stripped to nothing, which I've done. And I'm not saying I'm done, but I'm saying I've been to that point. Now I'm coming back up. So he comes up now, And you're right. There's not just a sensitivity. There's an ultra hypersensitivity to criticism and to his own sense of self-loathing and self-hatred and where he's come from and what he did and the role he played. So he might hear something that's like boo, but it's like a lion's roar to him, and it's easy for him to fall back into those loops. I talk about this because I'm very passionate about it and because I've actually lived it, and I'm still living it, and I'm not there. But I really appreciate the fact that you said we have to be aware and sensitive to where they're coming from because they're still fresh out of the fire. She's been out there. She's built a lot of momentum. She's strengthened her presence on the earth grid. He's been capitulated and castrated. And now he's trying to integrate this divine force in himself, which is really her. It's his creative expression in homage to her, into creation itself. And the human part of the man, I think, is the last leg of this little quadrangle of potential.
When I worked in the inner city as a teacher, and I had these young men who were having trouble with the girls, and the girls were having trouble with the men. They're 14, and I asked, and so we had groups, and there was this one group where there were men helping me with these boys, and I said, what is it that they do that makes you so mad? And you know what it was? They roll their eyes at us.
The boys
are saying the girls do that.
The girls do that, and it sends them off. Now that's insensitive. Boys are sensitive.
Men are boys.
Yeah.
Men are boys.
That little act drove them crazy.
Well, and that feeds into the old stereotype of women are crazy and men are stupid.
Right.
Every man's Fred Flintstone or Jackie Gleason from The Honeymooners, right?
Yeah,
and there is a certain something about it. There's certain things that a man looks at, but we don't have to get into all that. But I get what you're saying, and I love what you're saying because that's the sensitivity that I'm talking about. I had to give up alpha male. Achievement. I remember a year and a half ago, I was hell or high water launching this network, and I mean I borrowed money. I mean I was ready. I had everything in line, and the feminine. And when I say the feminine, it wasn't just my manifested or incarnated mirror. It was the feminine within myself. Now, granted, my masculine probably would have dominated the feminine within myself and said, F it, we're doing this. I don't care what you say. But the fact that she said no, and the fact that she said, and when I say she, again, she's a physical representation. She was the conduit. And the fact that she said, it's a feeling. It's just not time. There was no masculine, straight lines. You got to lay it out rationally and help me understand.
Some kind of linear.
It wasn't like that. It wasn't linear. It was just I just got this feeling, and I have to surrender to that because they don't call it men's intuition, right? It's women's intuition.
That's a good one. This seems to all tie in. I mentioned the sovereignty thing in the beginning, and it seems to be that when we begin to understand that we're co-creators, like you mentioned. Do you have something there?
No, I'm going to plug this in.
Yeah,
Keep going. I'm listening.
The co-creators, that we're co-creators, and we're no longer sort of these powerless little children of some nameless, faceless divinity that sits and judges what we do with our genitalia somewhere in the universe. That when we start to rise up to understand that we're creating our reality, and that means it also ties into I'm not, as a woman, I'm not waiting for a man to come in and save me.
Right.
I'm here, I'm the one I'm waiting for is me, that old phrase goes. And and it's there's something in that then frees me up to be in my heart, to be vulnerably receiving, which is is something I struggle with. Like I can give love, I can give as many people who are light workers and things, giving.
We can all do that. We're all wounded
healers.
healers.
Wounded healers.
Well,
We're
I found that even, well, this is a whole different subject at maybe another time, but even with the orgasmic experiences of myself, I had to re-up
She
that
did some interesting
in how...
We can talk about this.
Can I? It's
Well,
really
finish your
interesting what
thought,
she
though.
did. No,
Finish
just the sound.
Finish your thought.
And I think
Well, I don't know where to go with it, but I did have to have a new relationship with it.
With your orgasm.
With my orgasm and what attracted me, what I
Yeah.
fantasized on,
Yeah.
why I was fantasizing on that,
Yeah.
who I wanted to enjoy this with vibrationally.
Right.
I mean, it was a whole thing into the womb.
And this was all through you without a partner.
Without a partner.
Yeah.
But then she connected with remember your whole group?
Oh yeah. I mean, we can have sky sex. I mean, there's
I know.
many things that are
believe
so
me.
great.
Look, you're speaking to the choir here. I'm telling you. I didn't see Morgan in the flesh for 17 months, and we didn't even have. We didn't consummate the marriage till a week after we got married, which would have been 3 years after we met.
Yeah.
And so it's never. That was a huge advantage because she had downloaded Harioscama, soul merging, divine union frequency, so she knew. So she took me to the ethers from the moment we met.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff happened. Then we got into physical, and then I remember I told you about the falsely empowered man. That part of me came out.
Yeah.
So like I'm running around like a teenage boy, who just got a hormone shot. And she's like, don't bring that over to me. That's not going to happen. And I'm like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? Because this is all I need to know to do.
Yeah.
And then she said, well, I know what not to do. And I'm like, okay. So
say more about
it was it was such a trip as a man that it's made me very passionate because really it's the core physical representation of the man's energetic transformation. There's nothing more core than the sexual energy. Whether you're distorting it as an unconscious creator or you're a conscious creator and you're working with the incredible alchemic magical thing that is. Now going back to what you're saying, so as a result, I'm now at a level in my incredible relationship with her that obviously, yes, it's it's not even, there's the word orgasmic, the energy of the word orgasmic doesn't even come close. I've had 200 female orgasms with my right leg shaking with just holding hands like this. I've had all kinds of things happen.
I want to know your wife.
I want to meet this woman.
You should meet her.
She's awesome.
She's
awesome.
turned into a dragon. I woke up one day with a dragon claw scratch on my arm. She said, "What? Who you been with? What's going on?" I said, "That's not from me. That's from you." She said, "Doesn't look human." I said, "You weren't human last night." I watched the hand go on my chest, and I looked down. I saw the claw, and I went, "Holy shit!"
My God.
I've seen her turn into like
Khaleesi.
3 or 4 different goddesses at once. Like you talk about a man's dream, right? But then you look at one, and it's an Egyptian princess with a snout like that. That's half dog and half human.
Yes.
And then there's this blue Indian goddess with 8 arms, which was interesting. I thought, that could be a lot of potential there,
Well, now, do you see, would she see this as that she can allow this to emerge because you can hold the space?
Well, obviously, yeah. I don't think it would happen
If you were.
but
that
then you get into the oneness that we have, and it's such a fascinating subject, and she's really much more qualified to talk about it than me. I can only speak really, I feel, credibly from the man's journey. The man being, I know what I am, I don't know how to get there, and then I've got this guide, which is the feminine presence, both internal and external. So it's but I think it's kind of like. I think it's kind of like this. It's like those moments when you're playing music or you're writing or you're channeling or light language or where all the chatter goes away and you enter this space that is dimension and now you've got two people, which makes it extremely powerful and highly, the potential of it's very high, and so all kinds of things happen. And I guess the reason that I love to talk about this is not just, number one, for the man to say, I don't believe in the word hope, but have some faith. You got it. Don't give up, and face it. Let go or be dragged. Let go of all that alpha male and all that stuff. And the second reason is because of we're here, I think, in a journey where it's very unique because it's such a dense environment. We're gods and gods in the flesh, gods and goddesses in the flesh. We're actually doing things that were once only known in dimension, in dream state. So I like talking about this stuff because we have these experiences that defy the physical existence. So we're in dimension. We have
You're walking between worlds.
Are we anchoring it? So if we're anchoring it, it's like many times after, I'll say to her, God, we were like lucky. There can't be that many people doing shit like they're doing it all over the world. You just don't know it. So
The dolphins.
yeah. True that. Hang on. Let's see what. I just looked at Jade, and he looks like he's worse than me.
Yeah.
So here, this sums up my wife. Okay, she says he spent all of his wait. Okay, he spent all of his time trying to get into the pussy, and for connection, as she was trying to get into his heart for connection.
I love that. That's it. That's the whole.
And here's another one. She should be on here, right?
She should.
Yes.
I miss her.
When we strip away our own unconscious programs around sex, we align with our own sacred sexual energy. And and that's pretty much.
So that was my question to you. Or were you going to?
What?
My question to you was, when you went through all this with her, and granted it took you, you said 3 years before you were sort of physically.
Yeah, that was just that's just when the grueling part started.
Okay.
Because now I'm in the physical presence of this incredibly beautiful, hot woman, right? Yeah. And I'm like, she even tell me one night, you don't know what to do you? And I'm like, no, I don't.
Was there an instruction manual? Excuse me.
Yeah, there was a destruction manual.
That was my question. So the destruction before the construction. I mean, was this this is where I think the work is for all of us, but specifically for men to get into their heart to understand. So to be with what is, like, oh, I feel inept, or oh, I feel like I'm not sure what to do here. Like all my best moves are not applicable here.
Yeah.
and you know what?
Different place.
Getting into the heart doesn't mean that the sexual part is going to shrink and die. It's going to change.
Well,
and it may feel like it's shrinking and dying for a while.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you're doing
from the men's, from my journey.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This is the thing, you already love her, you want to give her all of this, right? You want to be the best at everything, and yet your go-to is shut down. And not only is it shut down from this strong feminine presence, but the universe is saying, you go into the bathroom, and you're like, you go in the bathroom, you're like, oh my God, I've got to do something with this. I can't take this anymore. And it's out of order.
Not working.
It's out of order. It's out of order. You're like, okay, and the universe is going, ha ha ha.
Right, exactly.
And then you walk outside, and but what I'm getting at, so the journey for me,
this magic wand isn't working.
The heart thing was always there. In fact, it expands no matter what happens every single day. I absolutely worship, adore. I had a huge download last night, and we'll end with that. But there's a literal part of this transition that when you made that statement, to be sensitive to their journey, and so it's one thing to know, like she knew the energy of she knew what was happening. She was connected up here. So whatever was going on down here, it's not that it wasn't difficult, it wasn't unjust and all that. She just knew that this day was going to come. Now in his case, he's over here having this false power. Part of it, the main part of it, is his penis. Okay, let's face it. We buy big trucks, big toys, big guitars, the whole 9 yards. And now he's having to give them up. So I literally went through this phase of we were cohabitating.
Mm-hmm.
10 months, virtually nothing, no activity, you know. And it was kind of a thing for the couple, like a celibacy period for the couple. But I'm going through this period of, oh my God, where's my libido? What happened to my erection? Where's my manhood? Now, you become a eunuch and then tell me you're a man. So build on nothing to create what
to get to what's real.
Yeah, so and that's a very difficult thing, at least in my opinion. But again, it's I try to simplify everything, and it's like, you know, whatever she says, go. And I don't mean from a human level. I mean from that intuitive level, which is pretty much where she operates. But I would just say from an energetic standpoint, it only makes sense as everybody's been imprinted by the patriarchal conditioning that where would we be deficient? Whether you're a man or a woman, where would you be deficient? You'd be deficient in your feminine power. So, yeah. The last thing I was going to say is I had this incredible download last night, and I had to go off by myself because I had to go through this whole lucid dream process. But one of the things I got was, and I'm going to try to remember it. I wanted to share it today. So it was like there's a huge opportunity, particularly where two bond, regardless of whether it's a romantic relationship or not. It can be a divine union frequency. And on one hand, there's this individuality, I'm separate from you.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, what they were showing me last night is, like, for instance, I've gone through this process of what if Morgan transitioned? Okay? Well, I don't know what I would do. I know I would walk through the into the holy darkness, into the mother's womb, and that's create something out of it or whatever. But so that almost like a thing of I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need him. I don't need anyone. But what they were telling me last night is, yeah, you do. Because, you know, you're one and the same. Like there's a part of us that has to surrender from this deepest level that's beyond the human comprehension. And you can't really use human words for it, but you're never going to be separate from them. So they were showing me that a really distinct, subtle line of separation is where we say, I'm different than you. I'm my own person. You know, and we are, and again, in the complexity of this whole thing with all of our different, you know, aspects participating, but it was really powerful. And I don't have my arms around it totally, but I kind of get it, you know, energetically. Yeah.
When you said that, I thought, well, the first thing I would do if I had a beloved that left or something very close to me that we were working together as a team, I would grieve.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I mean, that's the first thing. And that's a very honest thing to do.
Absolutely.
And then you would expand.
Yeah.
From that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's happened in my life.
I've actually thought about it. Yeah.
What I heard when you were saying this is that because we are in the physical, which for now it's like, you know, we're transitioning into 5D, but there's still the monkey suits. That if the reason when you say what would I be when the spirit said to you, you're one and the same. Yes, we're all one at one level, but we're here in the duality, and you invited her in to accelerate you, to help you stick your landing where your soul wants to be, to get everything come online. Yeah. And that's why she's this powerful mirror and activator. But that's how it goes. We're in a duality, temporarily.
That's until we work our way out of it, right?
Yeah.
It's very strange because it's like, even though you have this higher level of oneness, I'm sure plenty of people experience it. You also have the challenge becomes greater and greater to contain oneness, because of the power and the growth and the enhancement and expansion of the individual. So it's a powerful thing, you know. I'd highly recommend it. I'd highly recommend that every man stop thinking with their dick and everything will be okay. So it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, ladies. Thank you so much for coming by and saving
Morgan,
the day.
Thank you. Jade, thank you.
Big thanks to Jade and his patience and everything. And
Thank you, Don.
All right.
Okay.
Radical man, radical people. I'm going to get my ass in trouble when I get home.